Just what does it mean to come back here and be able to play or just as an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans, but for me, I'm way happier in Indiana.
The Indiana Fever's road trip couldn't have ended any worse. A crushing 95-60 blowout at the hands of Phoenix, 2 more major injuries, and Dana Bonner firing off trash talk in the post-game press conference. But it was Sophie Cunningham who got the last word. In this breakdown, we'll cover exactly how things unraveled in Phoenix, Sophie's relentless push to keep her team in the fight, and most.
That had to have been one of, if not the most embarrassing loss of the season for the Indiana Fever so far. We lost to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the season, 77-58. We lost to the Valkyrie earlier in the season, 80-61. And tonight, against the Phoenix Mercury, we lose 95-60.
You could tell the night was doomed from the opening tip. The Fever couldn't have hit water if they'd fallen out of a boat in that first quarter. Shots clanged off the rim, passes went straight to Phoenix defenders, and the Mercury were running away with it before most fans had even finished their popcorn. This wasn't a slow start. It was a full-scale offensive meltdown unfolding in real time. The stats paint the ugly picture every Fever fan wishes they could erase. A miserable 34.3% shooting from the field, an even uglier 7-4-30 from deep, and 22 turnovers gift-wrapped into 42 Phoenix points. When you're coughing up more points off turnovers than you're scoring from 3, you're not just in trouble, you're practically begging for it.
Does this team practice? What I saw tonight looked like what I saw a month ago. Looked what I saw 3 weeks ago. Absolutely no offensive game plan. I thought this motion offense is when it's nobody's night in and night out. Everybody's allowed to have a night. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't play well, it needs miraculous efforts from the rest of the team to pick this up. Sophie Cunningham played great tonight. Kelsey Mitchell had a bad game. Bad game. Where's everybody else?
The real gut punch came when Sydney Carlson crumpled to the floor with a non-contact knee injury, sending a wave of silence through the arena. Moments later, Ari McDonald was hobbling with a foot issue. In the span of minutes, the Fever's already thin rotation went from fragile to paper-thin. Losing 2 key players in the middle of a blowout wasn't just bad luck. It was like taking a haymaker while you're already flat on the mat.
And Steph, obviously, Sid had that injury, and Ari left, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
Just what's the status of
Well, it's Sid's left knee, Ari's right foot, and we'll get some more evaluation when we get home tomorrow and see where we are.
Phoenix dominated this game from tip-off to final buzzer, out-rebounding Indiana 44-32 and making the Fever look utterly disoriented on both ends of the floor. Every possession felt like the Mercury were playing chess while Indiana was still fumbling with the rules of checkers. Phoenix's relentless defensive pressure turned the Fever's offense into pure chaos, and Indiana never found a way back.
Sophie Cunningham making her return to Phoenix, and it seems as if nobody on our team other than Sophie Cunningham felt any type of emotional connection to this game. DeWanna Bonner just got done doing your team absolutely dirty. You guys escape with a victory when they come to Indiana, and you wipe your hands of it like it's all over and finished with. No, it goes both ways. You don't think we want to beat her on her home court? You don't think we want to get a W for Sophie Cunningham, making her return to the team that she spent her whole entire career with up until this point?
Sophie Cunningham was the lone bright spot for the Fever, coming out ready for battle while the rest of the roster searched for any semblance of offensive rhythm. She poured in 18 points on efficient shooting, clawing, and scrapping to keep the score from spiraling into an even bigger embarrassment, but one determined player can only do so much against an entire squad firing on all cylinders.
This game meant just as much to Sophie Cunningham as it did to the Indiana Fever when DeWanna Bonner made her return. The only difference is nobody on the Indiana Fever had Sophie Cunningham's back this time around. Sophie Cunningham was the only player trying hard. The only player giving effort, play in and play out. The only player getting into it with Alyssa Thomas, getting into it with Dewana Bonner, getting into it with Kalia Copper, while everybody else just mailed it in. This game was embarrassing, folks.
The mood in the arena was downright grim for anyone in Fever colors. Frustration was written all over the fans' faces as the scoreboard gap kept widening. Adding insult to injury, the Mercury celebrated every bucket and defensive stop like it was Game 7 of the finals. This wasn't a case of a few unlucky rimouts. It was a full-scale collapse that laid bare just how fragile Indiana's depth becomes when injuries pile up. But the real fireworks came after the game. Dana Bonner, fresh off torching her former team for 23 points, couldn't resist twisting the knife. In her post-game remarks, she made sure everyone knew how charged this matchup was, talking about finding her edge like she'd just scaled Mount Everest. The subtext was clear. She wanted the Fever to feel every bit of this loss, and she wasn't shy about letting them know it. Here's what really went down over those 40 minutes. Bonner wasn't just playing hard, she was stirring the pot. She jawed with Lexi Hull after buckets, locking eyes in a way that left zero doubt about her intent, and got physical with Sophie Cunningham every time they crossed paths. This wasn't simply a basketball game for her, it was a personal performance crafted to humiliate her former teammates.
You know, it was, yeah, I don't know, emotions are kind of high. Honestly, it's just been a journey to get back to just being happy playing basketball again. Yeah, I'm just, the joy, trying to find that for a minute. Basketball was kind of like off the radar for me a little bit. I didn't know if I loved it anymore. Like, we had a long conversation with Alyssa, so just to feel that again, feel that energy, feel this from that building was just amazing. And I feel like it was a game that I needed to, you know, remind me like I loved it.
Coach Nate Tibbetts couldn't stop gushing about Bonner's fire in his post-game remarks, crediting her veteran savvy for lighting a competitive fuse that seemed tailor-made for facing Indiana. From the way he told it, you'd think she'd been bottling up months of energy just to unleash it in this matchup. Phoenix approached the night like it was a grudge match, not just another regular season game, and Bonner was the ringleader. Every bucket came with an ice-cold stare. Every defensive stop became a stage for more trash talk aimed squarely at the Fever bench. When the final buzzer sounded, the contrast between the two sides was glaring. Phoenix was all smiles, celebrating loudly and tossing verbal jabs, while Indiana huddled together, checking on their injured teammates and already talking about how to regroup after the beating. Bonner's night felt less like pure basketball brilliance and more like a personal vendetta played out under bright lights. A player desperate to prove something to people who had already turned the page. Every celebration came with a little extra flair, while the Fever were preoccupied with the far more serious concern of Sydney Colson's knee injury. The post-game scene made the contrast impossible to miss. Indiana's locker room was focused on unity, resilience, and pushing through adversity. Phoenix's, led by Bonner, was busy basking in the glow of a lopsided win over a short-handed opponent. Her 23 points couldn't disguise the fact that her attitude only reinforced why she never meshed with the Fever's team-first mentality. And then came Sophie Cunningham, ready to drop the kind of truth that would reframe the entire night. On her podcast, Sophie Cunningham finally pulled back the curtain on Dana Bonner's exit from the Fever, and it was uglier than anyone thought. She began by giving Bonner her flowers, calling her a Hall of Fame-level talent who was clearly miserable during her stint in Indiana. Then came the bombshell, the revelation that completely rewrote the narrative around why Bonner left and how it all really went down.
Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some you type shit.
Sophie admitted it was a shock that Indiana even landed Bonner in the first place. She's a Hall of Famer, a phenomenal scorer, we'd take her in a heartbeat, she said. But then came the stinger. According to Sophie, When Bonner decided to leave midseason, she didn't even send a simple text to her teammates. No goodbye, no explanation. Months of practicing, traveling, and sharing locker rooms together, and then she was just gone, like she'd vanished into thin air.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court,